Okay, so prior to yesterday's announcement, you were projecting a 10% growth for the second quarter. What do you think was the main surprise here for that higher showing at 11.8%?
Well, 10%, 11.8%, that difference isn't really that much. And the overall number is in low double digits, largely because the second quarter of a year ago was so weak. So everything came back fairly well as compared to a year ago. I think the real important numbers to be looking at, though, as you mentioned earlier, are the quarter-to-quarter numbers, which showed actually a decline when looking at seasonally adjusted data from Q1 to Q2.
Okay, and looking at those set of numbers, at least for the second quarter, that's a contraction of 1.3%, owing to the fact that we did return to lockdowns back in April.
Okay.
And that's exactly where we're at right now, even stricter now with the capital in ECQ, at least for the next 2 weeks, because of the threat of the Delta variant. What does that say about how the economy might fare for the third quarter and the remainder of the year?
Yeah, it actually, for the third quarter, doesn't bode very well, considering that, as you mentioned, the capital region is in a strict quarantine at the moment. Consumer spending is very, very weak. If you look at consumer spending, even like over 2 years ago, to look through the pandemic recession, consumer spending is about 9% below where it was at this time in 2019, actually in Q2 of 2019. So consumer spending is still very, very weak as individuals, households can't go out, can't eat in restaurants, can't do the things that they would like to do every day. Another aspect of the economy that's still weak as well is the externally focused economy in terms of exports. If you look at exports around the Asia Pacific region, they've come back pretty strongly. But if you look at exports compared to, again, back late 2019, they're only up by about 2% over that period. That's the weakest performance in terms of export trade of all the countries in the Asia Pacific region. So there's weakness on the domestic side and weakness on the external facing side of the economy. So it does not bode well for Q3. I would think Q4 will be better once we can get out of quarantine, but it's a fairly weak performance right now.
Okay, and having said that, are you at least going to revisit your growth estimates here for the Philippines?
Yes, we have. So our forecast now for this year is only for about 4% growth. That's fairly weak growth compared to the 6-7% we've gotten used to over the years prior to the pandemic, and below what we were looking at just a couple of months ago. We really thought that we would begin seeing a period of steady quarter-to-quarter growth as different parts of the economy began to accelerate. Normally, we would think that maybe there would be a good stability in terms of exports, and then when the quarantines are lifted, we'd see consumer spending grow quickly, and then followed on perhaps by government support as infrastructure projects, say, are restarted and accelerated and so forth. But none of that process is happening right now. So there's a long, long way to go to get a concerted quarter-to-quarter pattern of economic recovery. I just don't see it happening yet.